Hello everyone and welcome from our studio here in the Lancaster Newspapers building in downtown Lancaster. My name is Keith Schweigert. I'm the sports editor of The New Era. Alongside me, Jason Garente, assistant sports editor and Barnstormers beat writer. And Jason, we are here to talk Barnstormers fans down from the ledges right now. We're 23 games into the season, and to say things have not gone as planned would be an understatement. Lancaster is 8-15, 5.5 games out of first place in the division, struggling mightily to protect leads when they have them and score runs when the offense is going on. What is going on with this team, and what has gone wrong, and what is your assessment of what they have to do?
Well, a lot of things have gone wrong. The lineup that they expected to have just hasn't been there. They lost their designated hitter, Matt LaCroix, to a shoulder injury. He's only played a handful of games. Their third baseman, Vasily Spanos, he's been in and out of the lineup with various injuries. They've lost their number one starter, Zach Parker, to affiliated ball, and their number two starter, Tim McClaskey, has a problem with his elbow. He's on the disabled list, and on top of that, the bullpen just hasn't been able to hold a lead. They're 1-10 in games decided by 2 runs or fewer, and it's hard to beat teams by 3 or 4 runs every night. You have to win the close ones.
How big of an impact did Parker's departure have on this team? He was their ace, unquestioned, coming out of spring training. Now they're kind of scrambling around looking for someone to fill that void. Is there anyone on the team that you see has the ability to at least be a stopgap measure for him now that he's gone?
Well, Nick Renault, the guy they acquired from the Joliet Jackhammers of the Northern League, he took Parker's start the last turn. He took a no-hitter into the 6th inning, a shutout into the 8th. So they hope that he can be a stabilizing force and at least be an above-average pitcher in that spot. But Renault's probably not going to replace Parker. Parker was perhaps the best pitcher in the league. He had an ERA slightly over 2 in 14 Atlantic League starts, and he was a left-hander, and he was 26. I mean, those guys, there just aren't that many out there. So they're going to have to hope that Renault is above average and they can make up for Parker's loss in other places.
You mentioned Lancaster's dismal record in close games, 1-10 in games decided by 2 runs or less, 0-6 in games decided by 1 run. Can all the blame for that be placed on the bullpen?
No, not all of it. A good deal of it can be, because virtually all of these games have been either tied or 1 run in the late innings. So it's not like the bullpen had a lot of wiggle room there, and they just weren't able to either hold the lead or hold the tie game. But the team also hasn't hit well in the clutch in a lot of cases, and that's the kind of thing that comes and goes. But they had a chance to put together maybe a 4-game winning streak last week. They won 2 games. And the other 2 they lost when they had 9th inning leads. They thought Sendy Real, a player they acquired from the Dominican who was late because of visa problems, would be the answer closer. He hasn't been. I mean, he blew the first 2 saves that he had a chance to finish. And when you don't have a closer, it pretty much throws the bullpen into chaos, because it all starts from the back, and you have to slot your guys in the 7th and 8th inning based on who's going to pitch the 9th. And if you don't have a reliable guy in the 9th, it makes the whole formula not work. So until they get the bullpen straightened out, it will continue to be a problem in close games. It's not the entire problem, but it's a good portion of it.
And when a team is struggling, baseball fans usually follow that grand tradition of blaming a lot of it on the manager. Von Hayes is in his first year here with the Barnstormers. What's your assessment of how he's done so far?
Strategically, I think he's been okay. I haven't really had a problem with the pitching changes he's decided to make or the lineups he's put out there based on the guys who were available to him. I think he's ruled with an iron fist. He's a disciplinarian, and there are times when maybe that's rubbed guys the wrong way. I think he's been tough on the guys in the media, and I'm not sure that always sat well with the players. The Barnstormers have released 6 players since the start of the season, and that's a lot. To put that in perspective, I believe they released 8 players in the entire first 2 years of the franchise combined. So Vaughn has made an effort to reshuffle the deck, try to fix the problems that they have here. And, that's good in the sense that he's trying to get better, but you also have to show a desire to stick with guys, and maybe he's had a little bit of a quick trigger. I think some people might feel that way.
What do you think the Barnstormers need to do to turn things around at this point? Is there any magic solution that they can come up with, or does it just boil down to playing better?
First of all, I don't think they're a bad team. I mean, they've outscored their opponents by 7 runs to this point, and their record should be closer to 500. The fact that they've lost every single close game is just it's mind-boggling, and it won't go on forever. I keep telling myself that, but then you start to think you're whistling past the graveyard after a while. But it's not a bad team. At this point, I think they have to be patient. They're 6 back in the loss column with 47 to play. That's a big hole. It's unlikely that they can get out of that hole without an incredible run of success. So this is the team you have now. You can't keep shuffling players in and out. You have to stick with the guys you have, see maybe a month from now how they've performed, and see if you have the right formula. They've already gone the route of trying to change a lot of faces, so now you have to just believe in the changes that you made and the evaluations that you made, and hope it gets better. I mean, at this point, it's not even about contending anymore. It's about improving to the point where you think you can get close to 500 and start having success. I mean, you can't be thinking about the division when you're 8-15.
Right. And for fans out there who are trying to find some kind of silver lining somewhere, what are some of the bright spots, if any, for this team at this point in the season?
Well, there are a lot of bright spots. The starting pitching's been pretty good, especially the last 6 or 7 games. They have a guy named Ricardo Gomez, who they signed out of the South Coast League, who's been just phenomenal. He's throws 90 miles an hour. He's excelled as a starter. I mentioned Renault earlier. He's a late addition who's pitched really well. And in the lineup, they have 2 left-handed hitters, first baseman Ian Bladergrone and outfielder Brian Stavisky, who have been all-star caliber hitters. What they're really missing is the right-handed masher in between those 2 left-handed hitters. And that was supposed to be Matt Lecroy, and he hasn't been able to play. If they find that, the lineup, which is pretty close to the top of the league in runs scored as it is, will take off. I honestly don't think they're far away. I think their record should be better than it is. But, the reality is they're 8-15, and they're pretty far back in the race. They're tied with York for the worst record in the Atlantic League.
Well, there you have it, fans. For anyone who wants more information on the Barnstormers, you can visit our website, www.lancasteronline.com. Jason here has a blog called Barnstormin'. You can visit that page at www.blogs.lancasteronline.com. And, of course, for daily updates on the Barnstormers and how they did the previous night, you can pick up the print edition of the Lancaster New Era at newsstands across the county. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.